Homer, are you watching me, boy? Good job. Hey there, it's Kevin Ward with Yes Masters Real Estate Success Training, helping real estate agents get more yeses and more successes in your business and in your life. And I want to share with you today a distinction that I hear when I talk to agents, and especially when I hear them role play or practice pre-qualifying a listing appointment. Before they meet with somebody, it can be also with buyers, it can be the same thing. And that is you need to talk to them and pre-qualify them, right? You got to ask them some questions. You got to ask them about their motivation, their situation, and all of that. So you've got to ask them a few questions. Well, here's the deal. Do you realize that how you approach that has a huge effect on how they respond to you? Because in fact, I teach agents that you need to pre-qualify every single listing appointment. You need to pre-qualify every buyer, not just pre-qualify them for their financial ability to buy, but also their readiness to buy, their readiness to buy, and their willingness to buy. So you got to ask them questions to find out what their motivation is, what their situation is, what their concerns are, what their thinking is, what their objections are. You learn all of that by asking them great questions, and that is the process called pre-qualifying. So when you get ready to pre-qualify, how do you start that conversation? And I hear two different ways that it's done, and one is done in a way that it creates resistance. And I'm going to share with you the way that creates resistance, and I'm going to show you a new way that you can use that will actually help you create alignment. And what I mean by that is if you ask it the wrong way, if you approach it the wrong way, you literally cause the person, your prospect, your lead, to resist you, to not want to give you information, just by the way you position yourself, just by the way you ask the questions. Or you can speak to them in another way and use a different way of talking that literally causes them to feel like you're in alignment with them, that you're on their side, that you're collaborating with them, and you're actually working on their behalf instead of the other way around. Well, so let me just kind of show you the difference in how it comes across. So here's how you start a pre-qualifying conversation. Before we meet, I need to, and this is the way that creates resistance. Before we meet, I need to ask you a few questions. Okay? I need to ask you some questions. Is that okay? Now, I want you to think about that for a second. One, do you need to ask them some questions? Is it really that important? And the answer is obviously yes, you've got to ask them some questions. However, what happens emotionally whenever we hear the phrase, ask a few questions? Okay, what do you think of? Because see, here's the thing. Words and phrases have an energy attached to them. They've got a feeling attached to them. They've got emotion attached to them. And what do you think of? What's the association? What's the connotation when you hear this phrase? I need to ask you a few questions. Now, what do you think of? You think of a courtroom, you think of a police officer, you think of interrogation. I need to ask you a few questions. You think of being in the doctor's office, okay? Whenever we hear somebody say, I need to ask you a few questions, it's kind of like, oh no, I'm in trouble now. Is that not the energy you feel? It literally creates that energy. And when you say, so before we meet, before I start showing you houses or whatever, I need to ask you a few questions. They feel like they're about to be interrogated. Now, how many of you like to be interrogated? How many of your buyers and sellers you think like to be interrogated? Nobody. So why would we start that conversation in a way that makes them feel like we're about to interrogate them? By the words that we use, we create an energy. We either create alignment with somebody or we create resistance. When we say, I want to ask you a few questions, I need to ask you some questions, you automatically, subconsciously, they may not even know why, but subconsciously they resist that. And now when you start asking them, so when the house sells, where are you going next? How soon would you like to be there? How much do you own the property? All of those questions become interrogation. Why? Because they're thinking he's asking me some questions. Oh no. Okay, and now they feel like it's almost adversarial. So let me give you a new approach that totally changes everything in terms of their emotion they're feeling towards you. And that is to say, instead of before we get together, I need to ask you a few questions. How about say this? So before we get together, I need to get a little more information from you so I can do my homework. Do you have a couple of minutes? Now, I need to get a little information so I can do my homework. How does that feel? How does that feel compared to I need to ask you a few questions before we get together? everything changes. Literally by just, here's what this tells them. This tells them, you are important to me. So I'm going to do some homework, and to do that, I need to know a little bit more about you. It's not like I need to interrogate you, it's I need to learn about you. So these are words that say, I want to get a little more information, is words that imply, how can I help you? It implies connection, it implies alignment. I'm interested in what your situation is, whereas this one creates that energy automatically of resistance. So before we get together, I want to get a little more information from you so I can do my homework. Do you have a couple of minutes? And guess what they'll say? Always they will say yes. But more important than the fact that they'll say yes is that emotionally they're aligned with you. Emotionally they feel like you are operating in the questions you're about to ask them, same exact questions, but their emotion is that you're doing it because you're interested in their situation and looking to help them. The words you use really make a difference. So master them and learn to master this one. Hey, before we get together, I want to get a little more information from you so I can do my homework and make our time together the most valuable for you. Fair enough? Absolutely. Great. I'll look forward to talking to you real soon.